Welcome everyone, Mike Bowers coming to you guys today from my office. Today's video is a little bit different. I just hit a major life milestone and gave up drinking a little over 1 year ago. In today's video, I'm going to tell you guys my history with alcohol, why I decided to stop, and whether or not I'll ever drink again. But first, we got to start the fire.
Lord Jesus is a fire. I said, oh Lord Jesus is a fire.
First of all, I want to say this video is not to convince you to stop drinking. This video is not to condone drinking. It's not to condemn drinking. Just my personal experience with alcohol and why I chose to stop. So a little bit about my history. I started like most people off in high school drinking beer. Mine was on the back roads of Maypearl, Texas. I started off with the ever so popular Budweiser beer. At the time, I really didn't like it. Wasn't used to the flavor. Of course, you're trying to fit in, so you drink one, and I never really had more than one, so it wasn't really an issue driving. As time went on, I was probably 16 at the time, 17, 18, I slowly got into drinking a little bit more. I would go to a good friend's house in town. He would always somehow find a way to get an 18-pack, and we would drink on that and watch MTV. Back in the day, we had the original Gwen Stefani with No Doubt, and Bone Thugs and Harmony, and Bush, and all those great times in the 90s. Absolutely just loved chilling on the couch, talking trash, and drinking beer, even though I still wasn't a huge fan of beer at the time. But I progressed on. I kept drinking, and in fact, it was probably almost a good year and a half after the first time that I had a beer that I ever got drunk, and it was spring break in Galveston, Texas. We were supposed to have gone to Cancun. Something happened last minute. We couldn't, so we ended up in Galveston. But we had a great time drinking on the seawall. And I got drunk for the first time. It wasn't too bad. It was a lot of fun, actually. What I remember most about that night was that my tongue had gone numb. I thought that was the most wild thing in the world. I couldn't taste the McDonald's we got later that night when we got a little hungry. Overall, good experience. I had a fun night. Drinking progressed a little bit more. I built up a little bit of a tolerance, I guess you could say. By the time I graduated high school, I was full on drinking probably every other weekend. Nothing too insane, but what typical high schoolers did back in the late 90s. I went off to college, went to Texas Tech University, known as a party school at the time, maybe still is a little bit, and drinking was just an everyday occurrence there. And coming from a really small town to, at the time, Lubbock was the biggest town I'd ever lived in. I knew no one. So obviously drinking was a good way to get to know people, go out to bars, go out to parties. It was a great time. But overall, I really didn't enjoy drinking all that much. As a shy guy, I went ahead and did it just because it helped loosen me up, got me a little bit more outgoing, and honestly, that's what everybody was doing. So I spent my college years drinking, trying to find girls and everything guys do at that time. Towards my junior year, I actually met a girl that I liked and enjoyed being around, and my interest in drinking stopped. Unfortunately, hers did not. One of the things that she loved most about the college experience was alcohol. No fault of her. She had different views on drinking than I did. And when I sat down and told her that, now that we're together, I really didn't want to drink that much, she had the complete opposite idea. She wanted to keep drinking and having fun. So I did that. We continued on throughout the rest of college, dating, going out to bars, drinking, hanging out with friends, having parties at my house. Overall, it was a great time. But again, right after I graduated, I really wanted to get down to not drink anymore, start a life, start a career, and get things going. She wasn't having it, and for many other different reasons, we decided to part ways. So here I was, freshly graduated from college, moving again this time to Dallas-Fort Worth area, up in Frisco, Texas. Knew absolutely nobody, and the only way to meet people back in the early 2000s, because this was still kind of early stages of the internet. Online dating was frowned upon, and at the time, people literally made fun of you if you met a girl online. So if you wanted to meet people, You went out to bars, and what did you do at bars? You drank. And for the first time in my life, I don't want to say I had a problem, but that's all I wanted to do. I wanted to go out, meet people, hang out. I had money for the first time ever in my life, and I was in the mortgage industry, refi boom in the early 2000s. There was a lot of money to be had, and we had a good time. Yeah, so I honestly, I spent from 2002, 2006 drinking constantly. I don't think I ever had a problem. If anything, my problem was once I started, I was having so much fun and I didn't want to stop. But if I was going someplace, usually with a girl, and she didn't want to drink, I had zero problems with that. I could go out and spend the day with her, no problems whatsoever without alcohol. So that carried on 4 years straight. I drank pretty hard for a long time. 2006, I met my now wife. She still liked to go out and drink. She wasn't a heavy drinker, but she enjoyed it. And a lot of times we would just spend the night out on the patio drinking cocktails. Back then, my big one was Red Bull and vodka. Not good for the heart, not good for anything. And I liked to follow them with a little bit of a cigarette. So I was a smoker and a drinker, but I would hang out on the patio with her. We'd have a great night. We would stay up till 2 o'clock in the morning, get up the next day, go to work or whatever we wanted to do. Really laid back and chill and a good time. All right, so my wife and I, we continued on with that. We weren't hardcore anymore, but we still drank 4 times a week maybe. And it was usually, again, Red Bulls and vodkas, or vodka and Sprite, some beers, nothing too out of the ordinary. And then one night, I had too many Red Bull vodkas, and I had too many cigarettes, and I had a massive panic attack. I couldn't breathe. I thought it was the cigarettes. My heart started racing. Thought it was the Red Bulls, and it scared the crap out of me. It was the early stages of anxiety, really. And I knew at that moment I had to quit smoking. There was no way I could continue on doing that. And so I quit. But when you smoke, or when you drink, you want to smoke. And so I knew at that point in time I had to cut out alcohol altogether. And I really did. So this was May of 2009. We got married in October of 2009. And I didn't drink at all really until the rehearsal dinner. We had the rehearsal dinner. We had some beers there. We had some beers at the reception, and of course beers and whiskey at the after party and the honeymoon. And I was doing fine. I wanted a cigarette, but I didn't smoke. In fact, I haven't smoked since May of 2009. And I slowly got back into drinking after about 5 months off. And I just casually did it from that point on. My wife wasn't a huge drinker, especially if I wasn't, so it worked out really well. So from basically 2009 to the pandemic, I was just a casual drinker. My friends wanted to go out and have drinks. I would do that. Sometimes it would be overboard because, again, once I started, I never wanted to stop. And that continued on. As I got older, it got harder and harder to recover from those long nights out with friends. But as our daughter came in 2012, those nights were fewer and far between. Every now and then, my wife and I, we would stay up. This is when the daughter was at grandparents' house. We would stay up and just kind of drink and watch movies, watch videos. Sometimes we sit there and watch 90s music videos, which was what I loved doing when I was in high school and loved doing when I was married to my wife. To sit there and have some beers and watch, 90s rap, 90s rock, grunge. Great times. So that continued on. 2017, my daughter was diagnosed with cancer. And you would think that I would have wanted to start hitting the bottle pretty hard, but I didn't, believe it or not. There was a few moments that I did go out and drink and kind of release steam. One of the most memorable times was 2018. Yeah, 2018, my daughter was going through radiation treatments. I got invited out to the, what was the name of that barbecue festival? It's now Troubadour, but it was Red Dirt Barbecue Fest out in Tyler, Texas. Still a festival, by the way, but I haven't been since 2018. Had a great time. So many participants there knew about my daughter's battle and were giving me beers left and right. Some were giving me shots of whiskey. It was the first time I'd let loose in a really long time, and I felt it the next day. Yeah. So the rest of the time my daughter was battling, I really didn't drink at all. Then the pandemic hit, and you had nothing to do. My video and what I like to do is go out to restaurants and filming or writing, and you couldn't do that. And so the internet was full of whiskey connoisseurs. Everybody was drinking whiskey, and I wanted to try whiskey, so I did. And at first, I didn't get the hype. I was watching whiskey YouTube, and they were talking about different notes, and I was like, I just feel burned. But something clicked. Something clicked the one day I was drinking a bottle of 1792 Full Proof, actually a store pick from Specs, and I could taste all the fruit notes and people were talking about. And then I tried some Stag Junior, and I can taste the leathery notes, the tobacco, and I fell in love. All I wanted to do was drink whiskey and hunt whiskey, and that's what I did. Little did I know, I can't drink whiskey like I do beers. And sometimes when I would start, it would be a rough night. I remember one night in particular, I had some friends over, we were doing whiskey tastings. I lost the Saturday. This was a Friday night. The next day, the Saturday, I lost the entire day. At this point in time, I was probably about 42, and I was hungover and felt miserable for a full 48 hours. And that had never happened to me before, but I told myself if I want to drink, I'm going to do it maybe one a night, kind of sit back and sip on a glass of whiskey, taste the notes, and just enjoy it. It was a nice hobby to have. But my problem was, at this stage in life, when I would go out, all I would want was whiskey, no beers. And so whiskey, there's a scene in Landman. If you haven't watched Landman, it's a great show, where Billy Bob Thornton's character says he quit drinking, and he's like, there's beer, has alcohol in it. He's like, well, give me 6 beers and give me 6 whiskeys, and he tell me if there's a difference, because there's a big effing difference. And it's true. There's a huge difference between whiskey and beer. And I was drinking a lot of whiskey. I was getting pretty intoxicated. On the weekends, during the week, I would drink and want to be fine. And I started noticing anxiety levels going back up again. I started noticing cloudy thoughts and couldn't sleep. And I just wasn't feeling good. And so I got back to just maybe one whiskey every other night or so, just to kind of sip on that one drink. It's not that bad. And it continued on where I felt like crap all the time, but wasn't putting 2 and 2 together that it was the whiskey causing the mental cloudiness, which, I'm not gonna lie to you guys, I've had a little bit of it all my life. I'm an intelligent guy. I just can't communicate very well, and I get lost in thought a lot. But once I relax and calm down, I can pick things up and go at it, right? But the mental clarity was getting worse and worse. And then it was my 45th birthday. I'm sipping on some Stag Junior, and I just immediately started feeling like crap after one drink. Got a headache. I couldn't think straight. And I was like, I think it might be the whiskey. And so I told myself then, I was like, I'm going to go 1 full year without drinking. I finished that up, told my wife what I was going to do. She's like, you have a whiskey collection. You got 30-something bottles. What are you going to do? I was like, I want to hang on to them, but I'm going to go 1 year without drinking and see what happens. So that's what I did. I had no problems, honestly. About 90 days in, I wasn't feeling any urge to drink. I would walk by my whiskey collection, and instead of wanting to grab one, I thought, what a waste that was. So I gave them away. I think the only bottles I kept, I have over here, was a bottle of Garrison Brothers Balmoral, the Stag Junior I was drinking on my birthday, and that's it. I gave everything else away, and I haven't missed it at all. So 90 days turned into 180 days. Next thing you know, my birthday's back around, and I got a full year without drinking. And I feel better. I feel so much better. The mental clarity is coming back. Like I said, I've always had some kind of cloudiness, but even that's starting to go away. I sleep fantastic. I can hit the pillow at 10 o'clock, and by 10:05, I'm out. I'm out for the night. I get up at 5:45 in the morning. I go to the gym. I feel great. And this is why I don't think I'm going to go back to drinking, at least on a weekly basis. I may have a drink on special occasions. There's a lot of great whiskeys out there that I would still love to try. I joke around with my wife with Matt Pittman at Me Church. You've ever seen his whiskey collection? If he invites me over to drink one, I'm going to drink one. I have a buddy I haven't seen in 10 years and they want to go drink. I'll do that. But it's going to have to be a really, really special occasion for someone to convince me to do it. And even then, I am still not 100% convinced I'm going to. I don't miss it. I love how great I feel. I love how much more I get done. And then going back to the sleep. The sleep alone is worth not drinking for me. Anxiety, I've struggled. I struggled basically between 2009 and 2015 was the biggest stretch of anxiety I had to go through. I sought medical attention. I did medication, which I hate. So I moved, more towards counseling and coping mechanisms to get off the medicine, which worked. But not drinking pretty much healed it. I don't get anxious very much anymore. And those anxiety attacks, they don't happen. I am 100% convinced that alcohol was the reason why I was having those to begin with. And I'm thankful those are gone. I know one of the biggest fears that I have if I were to go out one night is that I would feel that way for the next week or so as my body got rid of the alcohol. And of course, the mental clarity and the fatigue I would have if I would go out. I do miss beer sometimes. Beer just goes well with certain foods. Like it's baseball season. Beer and a hot dog is fantastic. I'm really getting into pizza right now. I'm making pizzas. Pizza and beer is fantastic. So I've looked at NAs, and the NAs are great now. When I was early 20s, the only NA you had was O'Doul's. And now you have so many different breweries making them. My favorite so far is Tom Holland. Spider-Man has a company called Bero, Bero. The Noon Wheat is fantastic. I enjoy the Athletics, but now that I'm experiencing more NAs, they were once my favorite. Now they're top 5. Brooklyn Brewery has a couple of not NAs that I like. Guinness does a great job. The Heineken Zero is fantastic. I recently found out Shiner Beers has a non-alcoholic version, so I'm going to try those. Shiner Rodeo, I believe is what they were called. Really looking forward to that. I don't drink too often, but sometimes when I want that beer flavor with the food I'm eating, these NAs hit the spot. They're really good. In fact, that Noon Wheat from Bero, I typically don't like celebrity drinks, whether it's alcoholic or whatever the case may be. The Bero is pretty good. Tom Holland did a good job with that. So I really do enjoy those, especially with the frosted mug. Fantastic. And it's only like 70 calories, which isn't too bad. Which brings me to the next thing is weight. People talk about weight loss when you quit drinking. I didn't really experience it that much. I lost maybe 10 pounds in the year that I was not drinking. And I hit that year mark just a little over a month ago. And I told myself, you didn't lose the weight. It's because you ate like crap. So I've been trying to lose some weight now. Now that I don't have to worry about alcohol impacting my calories or my wanting to go work out. And since I've done that, this has only been a little over a month. I've lost another 10 pounds. So we're looking at 20 pounds in the last 13 months. Not great progress, but it's progress. And I'll take it every single time. So now that I don't have alcohol weighing me down, I try to get to bed every night by 10:30. I get up at 5:45. I go to the gym. I live 5 minutes from my gym. Work out till about 7 o'clock. I come home, take my daughter to the bus stop, and then I get ready for work. I'm logged into work at 7:30, 8 o'clock, I'll have my first cup of coffee. And throughout the day, I take short walks. I get an afternoon break in the morning. I just get an afternoon break. I get a morning break mid-morning. I'll do a quick half-mile walk. Takes 10 minutes. Perfect. My lunch break, I'll walk my entire hour if I can. I just go around my neighborhood. My neighborhood has trails that'll lead to a park and just walk around there. Afternoon, take my afternoon break, 10-minute walk, get another half mile in. And before you know it, by the end of the day, I am up to 10,000, 12,000 steps. Try to do that at least 6 days a week. When at the gym, I'll start off with a nice half-mile walk, do some stretching, then I just try to do full body workouts, at least 2 to 3 times a week. And if I'm not doing a weightlifting session, what I'll do is just stretch, because I'm 46 now, and my body gets pretty stiff. And start the Michael Scott, that's what she said. And I just stretch, and it's great, and I feel so much better. I'm starting to get energy back, and really looking forward to this last half of my life. I'm over the hill now, and I'm enjoying it. I did a video a couple of weeks ago. I went hiking. That was great. I don't run. All my life I was told, walking was lazy, and that was bullshit. Walking is fantastic. Walking is better than doing nothing. My joints don't hurt from walking. Sometimes my feet will, but I've invested in some great shoes. Right now, Brooks Glycerins, absolute favorite. I switch those out about every 4 months, and I walk, and that's something that I can do every day that I don't dread. Sometimes I do get tired of the same scenery, so what I do is I'll drive to another park, another neighborhood, and walk around there to see something a little bit different. It's cold outside. I walk on the treadmill at my gym. I'll get a nice little audiobook. Audible's become one of my favorites, and I'll listen to that or a podcast, and it just makes the time melt away. And I'm active doing that. Before I would dread going to the gym because I knew I should run on the treadmill, do a bunch of cardio. Hated that. And so I never went. So now that I walk and don't mind walking, I can walk, lift some weights, and I'm out of there within an hour. And you don't even have to do an hour. If you just do it for 30 minutes, it'd make the world of difference. And again, I'm excited. I'm excited to go through the second half of life, actually working out for the first time in my life on a consistent basis. Diet, it's just calorie deficits is what I do. I do a version of intermittent fasting. I do the, It's the 18-6 is what I do. Meaning that I will eat between the hours of 1 p.m. and 7 p.m., the 6 hours. I'll eat pretty much whatever I want to, and then I'll fast for the next 18 hours. So pretty much just skipping breakfast with a late lunch. Pretty easy thing for me to do. I'll track my calories, but when you're only eating 2 meals, you stay under calories. Typically for lunch, I'm not as hungry as I thought I would be. The first couple of days was rough, but after that, I can get up, go work out. Coffee satisfies my hunger when I have that around 7:30, 8 o'clock, and then 1 o'clock, or my lunch break's from 12 to 1. So what I'll do is walk the first half of it, make something quick, and as I'm getting back to work on my desk, I'll eat something, usually scrambled eggs and sausage, sandwich, something like that. And then at dinner, I just have whatever the heck I want. I love to cook. Cooking's my absolute favorite. I love restaurants, but I try to only go once a week, and I'm usually filming it for you guys. But yeah, can't believe it's taken me 46 years to find the perfect diet plan that works for me, but it's working, and I'm loving it. And I'm averaging a pound a week right now, which is great. Probably a little bit over a pound a week now, and I can't wait to see what this leads me to. I think this is something I can stick with, and I owe it all from not drinking. A lot of podcasts brought me to this. I don't know if you guys have ever heard of Andrew Huberman. He's a scientist out of Stanford University. He tracks all things with the human body, and I heard him first on the Two Bears, One Cave podcast. Bert Kirchner is one of my favorite comedians, and yeah, he said, man, alcohol is kind of like the new cigarettes, right? Everybody thought it was okay, but it's not, and it's poison to your body, and there's really not much health benefits to it. Never believed that, but now I kind of do. And I don't know how much more I want to be a part of that. Like I said earlier in the video, I think I'm done, except for those rare special occasions where I just want to, probably going to be a whiskey. If I have anything that I want to drink, it's probably going to be whiskey, because I really enjoyed the flavors and the complexity of different blends. It was one of my favorite things to do. And yeah, but it's going to be a special occasion for me to do that. All right, guys, I've rambled off enough. It's time for me to go cook dinner. I appreciate you watching the very end. If you guys have any questions, reach out, let me know. Again, the whole drinking thing's personal. I know I come from a standpoint where I'm lucky I didn't have a true addiction. So this is much easier for me than it would be people who are truly addicted to alcohol. But if you're thinking about it, there's a whole movement now called Sober Curious. If you are curious about it and have questions, let me know and give it a shot. It's worth trying just to see how your body feels, even if it's for just 30 days. All right, like I said, rambled on enough. Y'all have a great week. Until the next video, fire is out.